mute buttons on to avoid any background noise. Welcome to the second of our 3 Southern California Energy Innovation Network showcase events. This one featuring 6 of our mid-stage companies that are currently pursuing seed round and Series A capital raises. I'm Marty Turok, and I've been leading strategic programs for Cleantech San Diego since it was founded in 2007. Cleantech San Diego is a not-for-profit business association with the mission of accelerating clean technology innovation and promoting the equitable deployment of sustainable solutions for the benefit of the economy, the environment, and all members of our community. And over the last 10 plus years, the clean tech industry in San Diego has grown to over $7 billion in local economic impact and about 40,000 quality jobs. And we're looking for our SCEIN startup companies to continue to jumpstart the post-COVID-19 economic growth and job creation across California and the world. Recognizing that this is our second in our 3 showcase events, and for those of you who know me, I just can't give the same presentation twice. So I'm calling this one my Oreo presentation, since I feel that I need to open and close with some of the same crisp facts, but I can promise you that there'll be some fresh icing in the middle. So let's get to it. In the 2016 timeframe, when the CEC and the CPUC completed a study that showed a significant gap to achieving the state's 2030 greenhouse gas targets, they allocated $60 million in EPIC grant funds to create an energy innovation ecosystem, at the heart of which are 4 startup incubators, supported by the $25 million CalSeed non-dilutive funding program and special projects from Guidehouse Insights. Zach Dobbin, our SCEIN program manager, and I provide strategic program leadership and reporting to the CEC for our incubator that supports entrepreneurs who have breakthrough electric energy technologies in San Diego, Imperial, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. We have partnerships with all of the entities that you see on the banner in the middle of this slide, and that's how we provide a one-stop shop to our entrepreneurs with everything that they need except capital. And of course, one of our primary objectives for conducting these showcase events is to connect our SCEIN companies with potential investors. Unlike incubators that are run by universities, research institutes, or cities, because Cleantech San Diego is a business association with 120 member companies, we have one of the most comprehensive and diverse technical advisory committees that we think of as our secret sauce. Immediately upon acceptance, our member companies get the opportunity to do customer discovery and launch pilot evaluations with our TAC members, who have also become customers and investors in our SCEIN companies. And we must be doing something right, because it turns out that just 3 weeks ago, the CEC held the 6th annual EPIC Symposium, where they conducted a pitch competition featuring 13 of the best startups from across the state. And I'm proud to report that our SCEIN companies won 4 of the 5 first annual California Energy Visionary Awards. And Dover Janis, CEO of igrenEnergi, will be presenting today. Last week, I presented an overview of the greenhouse gas warming effect and the scientific data that proves that the 25% increase in carbon dioxide concentration in our atmosphere since the Industrial Revolution is proven to come from human-generated combustion of fossil fuels. So today, I'd like to pick up where I left off and address the climate impacts and opportunities that are a result of this growing greenhouse gas effect. Let's start with a chart from the executive summary of California's 4th climate change assessment completed in 2018. While most of these impacts and trends have been generally understood and expected since even before the first climate change assessment in 2006, the currently available models and analyses confirm the concerning trends and future forecasts. Starting with temperature rise, not only was it the hottest August on record in California, reaching a record highest temperature of 130 degrees at Death Valley on August 16th, but closely following that up, Europe just recorded its hottest October on record, an average of 1.6 degrees C above their average from 1981 to 2010. And that caused Arctic sea ice to reach its lowest level since satellite measurements began in 1979. And this is not just an outlier month here and there, but data from NASA, NOAA, and Copernicus all confirm that the Earth's surface temperature is warming at a rate of about 0.18 degrees C per decade. As of October, there have been more than 8,200 wildfires in California alone that have consumed more than 4 million acres, which is more than double the previous record. When I first prepared this next slide last Friday, I found the top headline from October 9th. Well, Tuesday of this week, that 104-year-old record was broken as Hurricane Theta became the 29th hurricane storm in 2020, 12 of which have made landfall, breaking the previous record of 9 set in 2016. Most of the population, next slide, most of the population in 414 US municipalities live within 5 feet of the current high tide line. Along with the thermal expansion, the ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica, whose melting rates are rapidly increasing, have raised the global sea level by 1.8 centimeters since the 1990s and are tracking to worst case climate warming scenarios. And on this slide, just like the other climate impacts that I've shown, these are not one-off anomalies here, but clear data-backed steady trends. So what can we do? If we're to retard these severe and increasing climate impacts, we have to nip it at the source. So here's a pie chart showing the sources of greenhouse gas emissions across the state. Actually, SDG&E is already at a 44% renewable portfolio mix, on track to meet the state's target of 60% RPS by 2030, and have their own internal target to get to 100% zero carbon energy by 2045. So that, along with new community choice energy programs that San Diego Community Power and Clean Energy Alliance are offering to 8 of our 18 cities across the county, will help all sectors reduce the carbon footprints of their electricity usage. In the commercial and industrial sectors, whether driven by corporate social responsibility or environment, social, and governance policies, all the major corporates are making commitments to decarbonization. In fact, in April, even Royal Dutch Shell announced plans to cut its carbon emissions by 50% by 2050. So I think we can expect to see continued proactive decarbonization initiatives across the corporate and industrial sectors. So back to our greenhouse gas pie chart, the 2 biggest sources and therefore opportunities that still need to be addressed are transportation and commercial and residential buildings. While the transportation sector accounts for 41% of greenhouse gas emissions statewide, here in San Diego, it's actually over 50%. On the right chart, you can see the forecast adoption rate for San Diego to achieve its allocation of Governor Brown's executive order to get to 5 million EVs by 2030. And with 9 of our SCEIN companies and around 50 of our Cleantech San Diego member companies providing products and services that'll accelerate transportation electrification, I think San Diego is going to be in good shape here, along with SDG&E, Sandag, and others who recently launched the Accelerate to Zero Emissions Collaborative, where Cleantech San Diego is on the steering committee. So that leaves building decarbonization as our final opportunity. This is going to require a 3-prong approach, using code to mandate zero carbon, high efficiency new buildings, a focus on the biggest buildings to have the fastest significant impact on retrofits, and breakthroughs in carbon sequestration in the processes for making steel and concrete. Consistent with the state policy and market needs, we've developed this 5-block, which summarizes the eligible and priority technologies that we can support in our SCEIN incubator. And here are our current 35 SCEIN companies broken out by which technology segments they're innovating. And of course, the 6 company names that are circled will be our guest presenters today. Here's our agenda for this second showcase event that we'll be strictly adhering to. Each presenter will have 9 minutes, and then I'll introduce the next presenter. So there'll be no time for questions immediately following the individual presentations, but after my closing remarks at 10:15, we've set up breakout rooms for each presenter, and you're free to visit with any of them that you have follow-up questions for. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our first presenter for today, Bob Spears, who's president and CEO of Chilldyne, a company that already has 2 million-plus customers, both of whom have made repeat purchases of their patented liquid cooling system that cools data center servers. Chilldyne solution helps data centers significantly reduce HVAC costs, increase server density, and cool the newest, most powerful chips that cannot be air cooled. So Bob, take it away.
Oh, Bob, you're muted there.
There I am. We patented a way to safely liquid cool data centers while saving a third of the cooling electricity and allowing 10 to 20 times more server rack density. We got into this business when my CTO partner, Steve Harrington, heard that half the electricity used in a data center goes to air condition a room full of servers that can't sweat. Next slide, please. Data center cooling has become a problem because server chips keep getting faster and hotter every year. We recently designed a system to cool more than 4,000 watts in a server less than 2 inches tall. Liquid cooling is now essential for the fastest servers. Industry experts expect data center cooling will shift from air to liquid, causing the liquid cooling market to triple to $3.5 billion per year. The chief barrier to this expected growth in liquid cooling is customers' fear of damage from a leak. Our patented solution addresses this leak problem. We started with $2 million in sales, cooling thousands of GPUs for 2 South Korean national labs. More importantly, in the last 18 months, we've made 3 US sales worth in excess of $3 million. But let's get back to the fear of liquid leaks. When you tell a data center operator that you're going to put water in their server, they'll quickly say, oh no, you're not. Next slide, please. And launch the video, please. So we then do a cut the line demo. Good, it's going there. Showing that a leak in our system is not a problem. This is an example of a really bad leak. If you did this to a positive pressure system, you would have water spraying through the data center as if you'd stuck a knife in a garden hose. But because we're using negative pressure in both directions, a leak in our system is a minor maintenance issue, and the server fan goes back to full power, providing backup air cooling while you sort out what went wrong. Next slide, and I'll turn it over to my partner, Steve Harrington.
Hi, I'm Steve Harrington, Chilldyne CTO. Our first customer is high performance computing data centers. All the national lab supercomputers are now liquid cooled. I've been talking to the national labs about the benefits of our never leak system since 2012. Sandia National Lab in Albuquerque told their server vendor that they needed a better liquid cooling vendor. We deployed the Attaway supercomputer with them last year. It is number 94 on the list of the world's fastest supercomputers. They published a white paper singing the praises of our technology, which led to 2 commercial sales and then a second Sandia sale that we installed last month. We are bidding with 2 server vendors for another liquid cooling government contract to be awarded in December. The next group of customers is a large cloud providers and major server vendors. We're talking to most of them. In this space, our ease of installation and maintenance is key because they will deploy 100,000 servers at a time. This represents $80 million of liquid cooling. One leading server vendor said, "We like your technology. Every liquid cooling system on the market leaks except yours. But these large customers need a large vendor to support them, so we're working with them to get our system into their manufacturing platform." Next, please. We compete in the direct to the chip cooling space. There are other approaches using liquid immersion in oil or expensive fluids, but direct to the chip liquid cooling has the most customer acceptance and requires the least changes to the data center. The server liquid cooling business to date has been dominated by companies like Cray, IBM, and Fujitsu. These companies use aerospace style fittings and connections, which are designed for maximum reliability in aircraft with 30-year lifespans, but are too expensive for a computer that goes obsolete in 4 years. With the Chilldyne system, high reliability is not needed because the system is failure tolerant. Our other competitors include companies that are moving from selling gamer systems into the data center. These do leak occasionally. After a major install suffered a leak that ruined half a rack of servers, the server vendor said, "I am not okay with this maybe might leak once in a while system." Our 2 recent customer successes were to data centers that had bad experiences with positive pressure competitors. Chilldyne engineers have a combined 100 years of experience designing aerospace, medical, and consumer products. And experience like this is why the Chilldyne system has the best combination of high reliability, low cost, and ease of scaling. Next, and back to Bob.
Thank you. Our first sale was to a San Diego server vendor who could not air cool a 1,000 GPU system that they had already sold. We built them a new liquid cooling system in 2 months and installed it in Korea. We then went to a number of trade shows and technical meetings, telling people about how negative pressure can deliver worry-free liquid cooling. This led to our Sandia project. And here's what these customers like hearing the most. Not a single one of the 10,000 CPUs and GPUs we're cooling has ever had a drop of water leak on it. None of our competitors can say that. The hardware sale, coupled with a lucrative hardware warranty that we get paid for up front, is nice, but we also have a sense that we need to pivot to a licensing model to scale fast enough to become the de facto standard in liquid cooling. Next slide, please. Our customers told us that they want multiple sources for their liquid cooling system. Therefore, we'll license our designs to initially one and then multiple strong supply channel partners. We'll teach them how to build and assemble the components, and we'll leverage our small size through the scale of these large partners. We'll continue to do the custom engineering work we already do on each sale, and to do this, we'll hire more engineers and sales engineers. We'll hire employees familiar with setting up the formal support systems our big customer partners expect to receive. We also have an opportunity to make money off the CDU during its entire 12 to 15-year life by licensing the CDU software and providing planned preventive maintenance services. Next slide, please.
Steve, I'm Chilldyne CTO. I received my bachelor's, master's, and PhD in aerospace engineering from UCSD in San Diego State. At Flowmetrics, I've been solving companies' fluid flow and thermal problems for over 30 years. I also teach aerospace engineering at UCSD and I test liquid-fueled rockets with students. After getting his MBA from Harvard, Bob spent 10 years at the computer company Gateway, most notably setting up their European and Asian operations. In Europe, he was the founding manager director and grew it from nothing to a strong business with $450 million in sales in 2 years. Shlomo Novotny is our business development manager. He has been selling liquid cooling into large computer companies for decades and has enormous industry credibility. He's already helping us make the inroads with the large cloud enterprise customers. Next.
Yeah, we're seeking funding to grow and transition to an IP licensing company. Server OEMs like Dell tell us their top product line will be all liquid cooled by 2024. To meet the needs of an all liquid cooled market in the future, we'll need to show server OEMs how to integrate our cooling into their server designs. To do this, we'll add to our team experts fluent in manufacturing, system design, and customer support. We'll continue to develop our Gen 2 CDU design that's better suited for rack scale cooling, and we'll also open up additional cooling markets that our large 300 kilowatt CDU shown here cannot address. So we find ourselves trapped a bit between the urgent and the important right now. The urgent being that we need to continue to respond to sales, and the important being the long-term strategies we need to execute on to become the de facto liquid cooling standard in the industry. Luckily, there are more big companies that understand supply chain logistics, manufacturing, and customer support than there are small, innovative companies that can dream up ways to put the rest of the IT industry on its heels through product innovation. We like our chances and we'd love to discuss them further with you. Thank you for your time this morning.
Great. Thank you so much, Bob and Steve. Appreciate just this great presentation on Chilldyne, obviously in the data center market that clearly is going to continue to grow as we continue to grow these new software solutions for companies all over the world. Our second presenting company today, as you can see, is Conectric. And presenting the company overview Conectric today is CEO Phil Kopp. Conectric offers a low-cost, plug-and-play smart sensor and machine integration mesh network infrastructure for customized energy and IoT applications. And they've recently executed several global channel partner agreements. Phil, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Phil Kopp, the co-founder and CEO of Conectric Networks. And the reason why I'm here today is because I believe we can reduce the global carbon footprint by 40% or more during the next few years by enabling our buildings to enact on real-time data and integrate with power grids. Conectric has the best platform to provide this wirelessly into existing buildings on a large scale today and into the foreseeable future. Next. 42% of executives say that they need near real-time data under every minute or less. Yet the market standard today is just every 15 minutes, if at all. This technology gap leaves the world in a position of enormous risk. Relying on humans to provide data context is simply unscalable. In order to make use of our existing data and enable the AI software of the future, we need the awareness provided by real-time physical information. Next. Today, the market is trying to analyze events in 15-minute intervals. So what is happening during the other 14 minutes and 59 seconds? We have no idea. And even if you discover what the problem is, there's a strong possibility you'll need to run a wire in order to solve it. Wires are both disruptive and expensive to install, leaving solutions only for new buildings. Conectric captures accurate near real-time environmental, occupancy, energy, and operational data into any one of over 650 analytics and control platforms, including existing on-prem control systems found in buildings and industry. Conectric has the only solution that is built for the end, a hyper-scalable, real-time battery-operated, bi-directional wireless network that can operate autonomously without intervention for up to 10 years, backed by 12 US patents. Next. SoftBank's Masayoshi Son said that the company that figures out how to do this at scale will quite possibly be the most valuable company in the world. You see, 5G devices cannot be battery powered for any meaningful length of time and are limited by the same power output regulations as anyone else. The reality is that without battery operated real-time data and retrofit capability, Masayoshi's statement is just speculation. Conectric delivers high-value use cases with mission-critical reliability on real-time wireless sensor data today, anywhere in the world, using the safe, unlicensed 2.4 gigahertz band. Our core product addresses around 34% of the globally identified markets and use cases for IoT data. Monetizing the value produced by our network data at scale is literally worth hundreds of billions of dollars in annual revenue. We have the solution to do this now. Next. Conectric has a socially diverse founder group, team, and board. I started with almost 2 decades of commercial building energy management experience, a previous exit from a wireless sensor company, and I'm a co-founder of one of the most successful B2B SaaS companies in the hospitality vertical. With the help of minor investments from professional angel groups like Tech Coast Angels, we build everything from scratch, developing key strategic partnerships established to build tens of millions of dollars in profitable sales over the next 24 months. Next. Our wireless technology is fundamentally different from others, based on the esoteric white paper for something called the Chameleon Protocol. It is undefinable by traditional networking standards. This allows us to deploy completely autonomous, private, and edge-based networks that operate independently of cloud controllers. Security and reliability from this allows us to work in mission-critical environments where others cannot, like data centers, industrial factories, and government installations. Our sensor networks can be embedded into on-prem operational systems, edge-based GPU and AI processing rigs, as well as cloud-based storage and analytics, all at the same time. We're not a vertical solution provider for a limited use case. We're a universal technology that ties together systems and software to enable the ultimate real-time global digital twin, totally scalable and future software and data processing evolutions. Next. Conectric works with smart solutions architects by providing the foundational connectivity layer, pre-made data collection and integration sensors. Well, there are hundreds of amazing software applications around the world and an army of data scientists crunching away at them. The quality of the outcome is only as good as the quality of the input. This is the most challenging piece of the puzzle, and Conectric has found a way to make it easy. We are fully customizable, yet very well defined, a repeatable, malleable, flexible, and robust, all at the same time. Next. We create a perfect marriage between software and hardware that gives customer the best, most flexible solution for all their needs today and into the future without vendor lock-in. Our biggest barrier is the upfront cost to purchase hardware sensors and the high cost of producing sensors in low volumes. In the future, we will update our business model based on high volume device production costs and simply monetizing the data we produce, providing customers with even more flexibility and scalability. This will result in a ubiquitous data solution underpinning the global digital twin. Next. The vertical axis of this competition graph shows completeness, and the horizontal axis shows scalability. Compared with other private, public, and OEM connectivity solutions, Conectric has an order of magnitude of greater scalability, performance, and reliability. This is simply a factor of our completely unique and proprietary communications protocol. In 2019, Conectric was named a top communications technology of the year by the Telecom Industry Council, an association of over 60 wireless carriers representing over 4 billion subscribers. Next. We started developing strategic relationships with top quality customers, partners, and channels in 2019. These have led to multiple pilots, which have proven our technology in circumstances that had previously been unfeasible, such as commercial freezer warehouses, trucks, tier 4 data centers, wholesale energy market asset level integration, New York City high-rise office buildings, and others. During 2020, we've developed 20 new partners, including MSPs, infrastructure providers, systems integrators, consulting engineers, platform providers, and OEMs with over $100 million in new sales opportunities. Next. This image shows Conectric sensors and gateways. We sell our solution to developers, integrators, and OEMs as networking hardware and high-quality packaged sensors for reading temperature, humidity, light, water, activity, utilization, doors, windows, digital and analog inputs, as well as RS-485 serial data hubs for reading off-the-shelf power meters and integrating programmable logic controllers. Our better solution generates SaaS revenue share with platform partners and bundles hardware and software specifically to address discrete customer problems and use cases. Our best model captures consulting revenue on major project architecture or customized solutions. We're planning new models around data monetization, blockchain-based solutions, and other data as a service offerings as we finalize our next generation software and scale into larger production volumes by communications infrastructure developers, as well as developing third-party hardware ecosystems. Next. This slide shows an example of our best type partnership success, an intelligent buildings platform built on Conectric by Synchronos Technologies for their customer AT&T. They trained over 70 sales agents at the beginning of the year. However, the product launch unfortunately has since been delayed until next year due to COVID-related challenges. Next. Thank you for joining me today in this challenge to reduce the global carbon output by 40% or more over the next 5 years, using our Conectric hyperscale autonomous data collection and control networks. Although Conectric is not seeking financing at this time, we are exploring strategic initiatives and focus on initial partners. We expect there to be investment opportunities next year, and I would welcome getting in touch to explore interest or other types of opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Great presentation on the future of wireless networks and networking. Zach, it looks like we have a little bit of airtime right now before our next scheduled presenter. So why don't you share with our audience one of the climate clippings that you've researched?
Thanks, Marty. Well, in your opening comments, you talked about the commitment that corporates have made to decarbonization. Well, did you know that across the US, 38 states have some form of clean energy goal in place, with 9 states aiming for 100% by 2050. In regions where there's no state action, utilities are stepping in up net zero emissions targets, such as major cities in the southeastern United States.
Excellent, thanks. And so let's move right on to our next SCEIN member presentation. And we've got igrenEnergi coming up. I think everybody in this audience well knows that battery range, charging time, and life degradation are the most critical challenges to the adoption of EVs and e-mobility solutions. igrenEnergi has developed a proprietary dynamic balancing solution that delivers 20% longer life, 20% more utilizable energy, and halves the downtime for charging, resulting in the lowest operating cost per mile. Jit Napti, co-founder and CEO of igrenEnergi, is actually zooming in from Mumbai to tell you about their successes in India and plans to bring this exciting breakthrough in EV charging and balancing technology to the United States. Jitin, it's all yours.
Thank you, Marty. You saved me maybe a minute or two by telling people about what I have on my first couple of slides. But good morning, everybody. At igrenEnergi, our goal is that we are trying to make e-mobility more viable by managing batteries better. Okay? If I were to ask this audience what you think is holding back rapid and widespread adoption of e-mobility, I think we would have the kinds of things that Marty was talking about: high cost of batteries, insufficient range of batteries, high charging time, insufficient battery life, and poor prediction quality in terms of predicting range and predicting residual lifetime and so on. Okay? A bunch of these challenges are what we tackle together. I'm sorry, I should have said next slide. Please, Zach, the next slide here. Okay, so I went through a bunch of these. I should have said next slide, missed that. Can we go to slide number 3, please? So we took a holistic view of what a battery is, how it is structured, and what it does. And we like to look at the battery as really being the heart and the brain. Okay, the heart of the battery is the cells and a lot of the mechanical engineering aspects of it, like the enclosure, the thermal management, and some of the electrical parts like bus bars and things like that. But at the top of this stack is really what we see as the brain of the battery, where you have balancing techniques, you have a lot of different techniques in electronics, power electronics, analog electronics, control software, data, cloud software, and a whole host of technologies, which together we think of as the intelligence part of the battery. So I'm going to focus on 2 different aspects where we have brought some innovations to the market. One is dynamic balancing, which I've circled in the darkish green color here. And the other is the intelligence in the battery. Next slide, please. Okay, so dynamic balancing, I will not go into how we do what we do, but dynamic balancing essentially keeps all cells in the battery balanced at all times. So unlike competing technologies like passive balancing and active balancing, we are actually able to perform a lot better because of this attribute of keeping batteries balanced all the time. We're able to extract more energy out of batteries, we're able to put more energy into batteries, and we're able to do this faster, and especially so as batteries grow older. So we've built a bunch of different size of batteries, kind of batteries using our technology, and this example I've shown here is of a 1.5 kilowatt hour battery, which has been built for micro mobility type applications, 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, and small 4-wheelers. And we've run few tens of thousands of test cycles on these batteries, some in the lab, some in the field. And this data represents sort of the average results that we've gotten out of it. You can see that we get about 20% more mileage and 20% longer life out of these batteries, which is a big advantage when it comes to either individual owners of vehicles or fleet owners. Next slide, please. In fact, if you look at the advantages that dynamic balancing brings to the table of getting more range out of the battery as well as charging the battery faster, if you combine these two, what you find is that, and especially so as the vehicle grows older, the vehicle goes fewer times to the charging station, and once it gets to the charging station, it blocks that asset, which is the charging port, is blocked for a lower amount of time than in if you didn't have dynamic balancing. So the cumulative impact of this on let's say people who own fleets of vehicles is that they get better utilization. You get almost 50% savings in the downtime required for charging. This means better asset utilization of vehicles, better asset utilization of batteries. And in fact, for the firms that are building and operating charging networks, it implies a lower capital expenditure because you need fewer charging stations. Next slide, please. So that was dynamic balancing. The other half of what we've brought to the market right now, and we're trialing with customers, is what I refer to as battery intelligence. And we bring that to customers in the form of battery intelligence as a service. I've tried to draw a little bit of a complex picture here, where on the outer concentric arc, you see different types of businesses that will be using batteries. And on the inner arc, you have the technology and the product. Okay? We have insights into the battery at a very fine grain level, and we can also tap into information that we get from the rest of the vehicle and from the environment and so on. And we're able to provide information that can be used by businesses that are using these batteries for making, for making business decisions that improve the financials of their business. One example, I have underlined the route planning for e-mobility operators. By giving good prediction of residual range, we can enable e-mobility providers and operators to plan their asset and plan the routes in such a way as to optimize their business and their financials. Okay, next slide, please. So, how do we monetize technologies like this? If you look at the addressable market, this is the addressable market just for battery management systems. And there are many sources for this information. I have tapped into the international energy reports here, International Energy Agency reports. And you can see that the worldwide market as projected by them over the next 10 years is in the range of $300 to $600 billion just for the BMS. Okay. So obviously a large market. We are starting off by tackling a small portion of it, which is smaller vehicles. I refer to as micro mobility here. But our technology applies to all category of vehicles, and therefore I see this as a market that is open for our technology with the whole market. Next slide, please. So even though this market is large, selling into this market is difficult because for one thing, there are a large number of participants in the market. There are battery makers, there are OEMs, there are mobility operators, there are software vendors, there are charging station network operators, and so on. And a few of these are sort of very old economy corporations that have slow decision making and stuff. So what we've decided is that we would actually take the approach of licensing our IP, and we have actually seen good success there. We have been able to rope in Murata, which is a Japanese electronic product manufacturing firm. They make about $15 billion in revenue every year, and they have licensed our BMS technology to build and sell BMS products. Okay. Similarly, we are a little bit behind in terms of the battery intelligence as a service, but we are actually working fairly closely with one or two customers that I'll talk about on the next slide, who are very interested in being able to license these APIs through which they can tap into the intelligence that we can bring out and make usable in their business model. Next slide, please. So we've talked to a lot of participants in this market, and we have run some pilots. We are running more pilots, and we are introducing product into the market in 2021. I've highlighted two customers here. Number one is Murata, who's really a customer and a partner and an early strategic partner for us. So like I said in the earlier slide, they have licensed our IP in order to build BMS product. We expect to roll out 2,000 to 3,000 small vehicles worth of battery and BMS in 2021 and actually scale dramatically in the following years. We're working closely with Dana Electric, which is a fairly old tier one in the auto business, and we're helping them build us a low voltage, small commercial vehicle, electric vehicle drivetrain, where we are providing the BMS and the battery technology. And then we have maybe 3 or 4 other discussions going on, mostly in Asia, but now we're stepping into the US. We have some discussions going on in California and hope to start trials in the first quarter of 2021. Next slide, please. The team in the company is actually very strong. We have 4 very strong founders who bring both technology and business background, and all of us have been entrepreneurs in the past, and we now have a team of almost 25 people in engineering and business and in field deployment as we carry out more and more trials with customers and we start rolling out into the market. Next slide, please. So we're not really right now looking for money, but we have raised $3.8 million in pre-Series A money until now. And we've used that to develop the product. We have filed patents. We have received 2 patents, 2 US patents, and we are processing 2 more. And we're about to file about 3 or maybe even 4 more patents. So very IP rich company. And we have completed some pilots in Asia. We're starting more pilots. We're starting pilots in the US, and we'll start commercial rollout in first quarter 2021. And we have done this strategic partnership with Murata. That's what we've accomplished with $3.8 million we've raised. Likely in the first half of next year, we'll raise $8 to $10 million. We do have a 3 or 4 quarter runway right now, so not really looking for money in a short term. But the larger amount of money that we raise will help us to grow the market. We have made an entry using BMS.
Jiten, I'm sorry, I have to cut you off.
Thank you. I'm actually done.
But again, anybody who has some follow-up questions and wants to hear just those final comments from Jiten, he will have a breakout room right after the final presentation. So if we can continue right on, we've got igrenEnergi coming up. Have you ever wondered when somebody is going to introduce a software platform that allows building owners and landlords to monetize the benefits of installing solar PV on multi-unit dwellings? Well, Dover Janis, CEO and founder of igrenEnergi, a CalSeed grant awardee, and this year's winner of the Grand Prize Award in the CEC's first annual Energy Visionary Awards, is going to tell you how that's now possible for both retrofits and new multi-unit dwellings, just in time to meet California's requirement as of January 1st, 2020, that all new residential construction must be zero net energy. Dover, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. And hi, everyone. Good morning. Great to be here virtually with you. And before I go into what we do, I like to start with the problem that our team has identified and really why we do what we do. Next slide. Nearly 12% of all single-family households in California now have rooftop solar. However, the data shows that on average, almost 50% of us attending this meeting today don't own our own rooftop and currently don't have access to on-site clean energy because we rent. So this next slide, this large gap in access to on-site clean energy was recognized by the California Public Utility Commission in 2011. And because of it, they created a net metering policy called virtual net metering in hopes that the private market would start to invest in solar for this market. And unfortunately, though, under this VNEM construct as it stands, the only way for the owner of an apartment building to pay for solar is if they justified a rent increase, which is very confusing for short-term renters. This VNEM process is old and very archaic, much like most of the technology or administration processes from the early 2000s. The credits are distributed virtually at a fixed percentage with no correlation to real-time usage or user behavior. This makes it extremely difficult for the owner of an apartment building to accurately distribute this energy value of on-site solar on their own, especially when every user is going to use different amounts and have different energy behavior. Because of this unintelligent process and complicated transaction structure with tenants, the solution has not worked for the private market to invest in solar, making the ROI on this investment almost unattainable. But what's interesting is the same economic net metering benefits used in the single family market exist for apartment renters that are on residential rates too. The market can obtain about 14 to 30 cents per kilowatt hour in avoided cost savings, meaning that the right last mile solution to these adoption problems will transform a massive segment in the solar industry. And a report written by the city of San Francisco in 2017 on virtual net metering states the problem for low adoption perfectly. Quote, standard methods of cost recovery are not yet developed. Most multi-tenant property owners are not motivated to install solar or storage without an ability to recover the cost of the installation, end quote. That is why we have created the Ivy software platform, including what we call Virtual Grid. And the platform is enabling existing buildings and future mandated solar buildings to share energy assets in a more intelligent way. 31% of all buildings in California currently have many energy consumers that share real estate space, and it's most efficient for these structures to install one large distributed energy system for the aggregate total load of the building, compared to running thousands of dollars worth of unnecessary materials as microsystems to each load panel. The IV software, think of it as an intelligence framework that acts as the distributed energy resource brain for the entire property, enabling its users to share the value of these shared on-site assets. The platform starts by collecting smart meter data for every user, leveraging smart meter data access, quantifies what a user would have paid the utility company, aggregates all of the avoided cost benefits for the community, curating what we call a smart shared accounting ledger for bundling utility accounts. And most importantly, the platform allocates the shared asset value using patent pending load algorithm logic that we call virtual grid. This bundled software framework enables a consumer-friendly split incentive transaction to take place between the owner of the building and the residents, incentivizing smarter energy usage behavior, grid resiliency, and logic that VNEM and virtual net metering just cannot accomplish on its own. These features are bundled together in a monthly service cost to our customer of $8 a month per apartment unit, and based on an average profile that we see, can generate over $1,000 a month per apartment in added revenue for the owner and over $140 in net savings to the end user. For ratepayers, the IV software platform allows a user to opt into guaranteed energy savings while giving them more control over their solar usage benefits. This service provides them an all-in solar energy bill at a lower cost than the utility. For the owners of these buildings, they can rely on our turnkey service backed by intelligent real-time data to help them collect a quantifiable return on investment of 14 to 30 cents per kilowatt hour, all without having to increase rent in any way or deal with any numbers unfamiliar to them outside of their core business of real estate. Timing is perfect for this solution because California, as Marty mentioned, just rolled out a solar requirement for low-rise apartments that will mandate around 300,000 new construction units in the next 10 years to have solar, not just for the common areas, but for the resident load as well. There is also around, next slide, please. There's also around 6 million rental housing units in California, and around 4 million of them are suitable for on-site solar. It's important to note that in this market, for our go-to-market strategy, the top 50% of the stakeholders in this market follow the top 5% when it comes to new strategies almost religiously. And that 5% is made up of only 20 companies. We have strategically targeted these groups and are actively talking to the top portion of this market that's building new apartments and have this new pain point as of this year to install solar and figure out how to justify the added construction expense. We have been working on condensing our sales cycle to less than 60 days by launching a pilot for a pre-engagement version of our software. And the pre-engagement version of this product will allow a large real estate portfolio to use our platform before the solar is installed and collect accurate data readings from residents that will feed a better verified proposal while also providing early opt-in resident engagement, simulating the benefits of using solar energy before the asset is installed. We are currently testing this with some of the biggest housing ownership groups in California, and it's been a success so far. We've also created alliances in our go-to-market strategy with major commercial solar companies in California who are bidding on this pre-development apartment solar market, as well as solar companies who worked on apartment common area solar systems in the past. Next slide, please. Our framework provides a deep competitive advantage to any compared third-party utility billing model. Next slide, please. That may use a linear accounting for solar billing. Our virtual grid data science advantage and our features provide higher ROI and a better experience for end users and grid operators. We also will continue to innovate on the platform, and the platform will learn through real usage data inputs and weather to update solar hour incentive values using machine learning based on what a day is predicted to look like. This will allow a user to have further reason to shift energy usage and get the most bang for their buck when using solar or battery power by checking these factors in a subtle fashion a day or morning in advance. Ultimately, this added data science framework provides a competitive advantage and increases the value for all stakeholders. Next slide. When using this model effectively to help the multifamily market catch up to the single family market in terms of solar adoption, this will create $5.4 billion and commercial real estate value for our customers. It'll provide over $80 million in added savings, net savings to residents and ratepayers per year, and grid infrastructure savings for utility companies. Next slide, please. We were accepted into the Southern California Energy Innovation Network, funded through the California Energy Commission, to help with product and market validation in 2018, as well as legal and IP support through Procopio as part of their Launchpad incubator, helping us file our patent on virtual grid. We also received a $150,000 grant from the California Energy Commission, and we have interest in active proposal conversations with over 50% of the top 100 stakeholders in this market. We also were awarded the California Energy Commission's Energy Visionary of the Year Award, which we're really excited about. We're on track to do $250,000 in sales this year. Next year, we're projected in the 1 million. And we've established early channel partnerships and received leads through these channels and closed business. We're not fundraising right now. I know I'm almost out of time and I haven't gotten to our team yet. We are planning on opening up a $2 million seed round to help scale the product in this market, operationalize this pre-engagement model I talked about, and build our fulfillment and our channel sales teams. Last slide, our team, just in closing, has a lot of experience in behind the meter technology development, a niche understanding of this multi-unit submarket. And last slide, our advisory board consists of ex-founders helping us with fundraising prep strategy, local energy policy, and mathematical and energy data modeling projects. And I'd love to network with anybody here that has questions, and I'll see you in the breakout room. Thank you.
Great, Dover. Thank you so much. And thanks again for bringing a software solution that now allows us to finally bring solar PV into multi-unit dwellings. You know, one of the gaps that we've had for a while here in California. So thank you so much. Let's move right on to KIGT. I think we've all seen many types of EV charging projects on the products on the market, but have you seen any that are compact, have an interactive touchscreen and credit card reader built in, and are also less expensive than most of the competition? Well, Paul Francis, CEO and co-founder of KIGT, has won more awards and recognition than I have time for this in this introduction. But just this year, they're a winner of Qualcomm Small Business Accelerator. And on Monday of this week, we're notified that they've been selected for cohort 3 of NextScore's Upscale for Climate Tech program, which is now going to introduce KIGT to the East Coast. So Paul, it's all yours.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, SCEIN. We appreciate the good juju, as always, an introduction. So at KIGT, we make really small, the pound for pound, smallest, smartest, fastest charging station for electric cars. There we go. And as you see here, it's a level 2 charging station for commercial and home and when you're on the go. Starting with our flagship project back in 2017 with over 8,000 charge sessions happen. As you can see, we have Teslas and Chevy, Toyota Priuses charging at the University of Laverne. One major reason why we were chosen over some of our competition was for various reasons, specifically some of our standard features like 4G and vehicle to grid. 4G is absolutely critical because in 3 to 4 years, the standard for charging stations have to have a 4G network or they won't be grandfathered in and have to be removed. Ours comes standard in 2020 with the onboard credit card swipe like Marty alluded to. Here's a wonderful picture of one of our multifamily projects. Unfortunately, the video didn't work, but what it showed was the flexibility of our software, and within 3 taps, non-members are able to charge their session. Many of you have an EV, understand how you have to be a member, you have to have a key fob, you have to be part of a network. Here it's 3 taps, simple and easy to go. Our software for property owners and site hosts, they allow that and let them earn 5 different ways other than just charging sessions. You know, Tesla earned over $2 billion from the reporting and selling of low carbon fuel credits. Our technology does demand response load shaving as well, where we're able to participate in DER programs. Here's our back-end dashboard that a lot of property owners like and utilities as well, because now they're able to see the kilowatt consumption of how many people are charging in. We have our own POS and billing because we're a vertically integrated software network company, holistic. And we're very proud to say that that was one of the reasons why we were selected as an approved vendor for Southern California Edison. We are NRTL approved. We won't blow anyone up. And that's partly why the reason we were chosen for the public schools and parks RFP with Edison this quarter. We're very proud of that. It's a big one. It's an 8-year agreement with networking fees, maintenance, and service for recurring revenue opportunities. A big project in our own backyard in the Inland Empire at LA County Fairgrounds we're installing at the Fairplex Conference Center. One major reason was because the digital advertisements. It kind of seems ancillary, but when you have a convention center that has brands and sponsors they work with like Coca-Cola and McDonald's, they like to earn revenue through this way. And we created a 10-year model where we do a share. Similar with the Port of San Diego, we're very excited that the Port and Board approved this project. We're doing a pilot at the convention center, the only EV charging stations at the San Diego Convention Center. We'll be able to demonstrate our load shaving technology. And to mention, we're taking our right by the Hollywood Bowl, we're installing 10 charging stations where we're the owner host with the revenue share with that faith-based community. And multifamily is huge for us. 90% of charging happens inside the home. And like Dover mentioned, over 50% of people rent. So here's a project with Envoy EV Car Share, First Housing, and we're installing charging stations at a low-income multifamily complex. And for us, we have a big project. We were recently awarded a California state grant. We've had charging stations at UC Riverside CSER where we demonstrated throttling the power in real time to a Nissan Leaf during demand response events, connected to a microgrid so that we can show utilities how we can have a price surge model during high peak times and we can fluctuate power in real time. Not to mention that when we load shave compared to others, we reduce carbon footprint by nearly 1,300 compared. So you have greenhouse gas emissions reduction impact. When you look at our technology, our hardware is V2G capable. So at the UCR site and our grant project, we're going to demonstrate with medium duty vehicles how we can facilitate the bidirectional flow through our hardware and software to have vehicle to grid at a microgrid. Our goal over the next 5 years is to complement the nation with 100,000 public e-chargers in the ZEV action plan states, starting with the University of Texas this year in quarter 3 and quarter 4. As well as our multifamily project in Hawaii, where we have a contract for 30, potentially 50 more stations to be installed. In total, the next 2 quarters, KIGT has to install over 170 chargers. You see the flexibility of our charging stations has enabled us to generate revenue from other avenues like direct sales, purchase orders, utilizing the rebate income that comes from utilities and the state of California as well. All becomes cash in the next 6 months. And the recurring revenues from those 5 ways we earn will generate us $1.8 million over the next 5 years. Our customer pipeline, now that's book business, ladies and gentlemen. Our customer pipeline is even more impressive. We'll earn $3 million of projected sales revenues in Q1 and Q2 of 2021. And our goal, because 90% of charging, as we mentioned, 85 to 90, especially in the pandemic, happens inside the home. We want to install 1 million nationwide within the next 10 years. And our customers who have home chargers have the flexibility, like we said, to start with just the basic level 2, then upgrade to the smart charger to do off-peak charging and to say, Alexa, charge my car, because people like the touchscreen component is reminiscent kind of like their Nest. And the reason why this is important is we could take advantage of low carbon fuel credits potentially at $6 a day. Now just do the math, 1 million times 6, it's not bad. We are a diverse supplier, meaning we're eligible for set aside dollars. We received the Clean Energy Champion Award from Edison last year. Partly a reason why as a diverse supplier, we're able to contribute because of the performance factor of our technology, but also we help them meet that kind of set aside amount for RFPs. The City of Oakland as well as allowed us to be part of their curbside charging committee, where we've pitched that having flexibility and charging on light posts where infrastructure currently is, where they already have conduit, is most effective and least costly. We have a rock star team led by our chief tech officer, mechanical engineer, designer of the product line that we have. Kyle, our CFO, family owns 20 McDonald's. He manages 50 million revenue. Brandon Aparicio is our project manager for the UCR project, chemical engineer. And I have 10 years in the business right now doing pilot projects and V2G demos with ports. We are also approved vendor of McDonald's and plan on installing in 2021. We are located in a disadvantaged community in the city of Ontario. And as we mentioned, the portability of our technology also allows our level 2 product to be portable. Now, our new projects will have our SLIM. We manufacture everything in California. We do our own metal fabs with the capacity to make 4,000 units a month. Currently, we're doing limited runs of 100 to meet our purchase orders. But as we said, we do our own metal fabs, our design, and this is the new end product of the SLIM. The form factor of the Mini is important because we're launching an innovation helped by our advisors. You have folks from Sempra Energy, McDonald's, LA Cleantech Incubator, even multifamily developers. They're helping us get our level 2+ product, and it's raised over the past 5 years, a little over $500,000. As Marty alluded to, we're Qualcomm. We've got introduced to the state of New York's program, specifically focused on manufacturing and taking our level 2+ product for medium duty, more power, V2G with all the bells and whistles we alluded to a market readiness level 10 to produce 10,000 a month to meet our goals and our demands. We're raising a seed round right now of $1.5 million to help with the match funding for the California Energy Commission RAMP grant. A little over 70% will go towards our hardware Gen 2, 10% towards certification. And then in Q1, we're raising a $3 million Series A round to help with the bridge grant to develop our software, demand response, V2G, and contactless wireless charging that we're doing. And we look forward to working with everyone. And we could just imagine how in the future, working together, we can reshape 100 years of human habit. Thank you.
Fantastic, Paul. Great presentation, great momentum, great juju as always. So good to keep it going. All right, that brings us up to our final SCEIN member presentation for today. And that's going to be done by Uprise Energy. Uprise Energy offers a 10 kW wind turbine built into a mobile shipping container that can literally deliver power in an hour. Uprise Energy was one of the 15 winners of this year's San Diego World Trade Center Metro Connect Award, and they were a recent winner of the prestigious Verge Accelerate 2020 Clean Energy pitch competition. Jonathan Knight, CEO of Uprise Energy, will tell you about his alternative source of off-grid power that can replace diesel gensets and provide power during public safety power shutoffs. Jonathan, you're up in the cleanup spot, so bring us home.
Thanks for the intro, Marty. You know, while I love our name Uprise, when we get organized alphabetically, we often end up at the end of the list. So hopefully there's not too much pitch fatigue out there. Nevertheless, I'm here to introduce you to the world's first commercially sized portable wind turbine. See, the power grid is both limited and vulnerable. Whether you're one of the 3 billion people around the world that live in energy poverty, or we experience a cyber attack that takes out our national grid, or we have the next natural disaster right here in California, the reality is when people don't have power, they suffer. And right now, the solution for those markets is diesel generators, which everybody knows pollutes, but those pollutants are also carcinogens and they're very expensive to run. So as an alternative, wind is great, it's everywhere, but the current wind turbines, they take years to install and they require a much higher wind speed than what's commonly found. So what we really need is an energy solution for the grid's edge that produces power at 30 cents per kilowatt hour or less. And that's exactly what we do. The Uprise mobile power station fits in a standard 20-foot shipping container. It can be towed on or off highway. And when it gets to the site, it only takes one person 1 hour to set up the whole machine. But while the portability of the system is novel, the important innovation took place in the performance. In our case, we optimized for the average wind speed around the world, 10 miles an hour, 4.5 meters per second, which is considerably slower than the incumbent technology. We do this with a highly optimized turbine blade that's controlled with our own proprietary electronics. And what this means is this turbine could power 15 of the homes that I live in. And if the wind were to stop blowing, we have enough battery storage to keep my house running at full speed for an entire month. Now we have some underlying magic here, and where we've basically created our own regenerative braking system, just like you find in the Teslas and other electric vehicles, except our computer is feathering the brake so that we follow the changes in wind speed, capturing the exponential energy available in wind gusts. And this dramatically increases our output in a system that we call dancing with the wind. Next. Now what you see here, the blue line is our aerodynamic efficiency of our blade, which is roughly double the incumbent technology. But the orange line is our real power output when you realize the benefits of dancing with the wind. Next. We also have a full suite of IoT features that provide worldwide connectivity, remote control, real-time analytics, and the system is even smart enough to protect itself in the event of a storm by autonomously laying the mast down. Next. Now we produce power at a very attractive cost per kilowatt, 10 to 30 cents, which compared to diesel generators that are over $1, it's very attractive. In fact, when you use one of our turbines instead of a diesel generator, you're going to save roughly $40,000 per year in fuel costs alone, meaning that the system is going to have less than a 3-year payback. And it's going to eliminate roughly 100,000 pounds of CO2 emissions every year. Now, to punctuate that, when you compare that to utility power, we're even less than what we're paying here in San Diego. Now, we've done some very extensive market research, and we've identified organic greenhouse farming as our beachhead market. And we also have good relations and traction in the power equipment rental, diesel replacement, and data center markets that we're going to be developing as well. On the government and military side, well, as Marty mentioned, we're going to be working with utilities to combat the public safety power shutoff issues and bring power to the underserved and rural communities. Now, there's some very exciting stuff going on in the military. In fact, the DoD has recently gone to the National Renewable Energy Labs and said, we want portable wind turbines. They created a program, D3T, Defense Disaster Deployable Turbine. And they said, NREL, go find us a portable wind turbine, and if it doesn't exist, go make one. Well, there's one company in the entire world that makes a portable wind turbine, and that's Uprise Energy. So we are on a fast track through the SBIR program, working directly with the US Air Force to commercialize our system and lead into a sole source contracting with the military. Now, on the humanitarian, that is the biggest market of them all. I view that as a secondary market, but I am really looking forward to setting up a nonprofit and giving back. Next. We build our equipment at roughly a 50% gross profit margin, and we have additional models that we are going to be commercializing. We also achieve recurring revenue through our data layer subscription at roughly $75 per month per machine, and by licensing our IP to other OEMs, licensing the manufacturing rights, and territory sales distribution. Next. Now, I co-founded this company with my dad, who was kind of famous for starting a boat building company that grew to be one of the largest yacht manufacturers in the world, building over 100 one-off luxury yachts and the all carbon fiber Navy stealth vessel picture. And it was because of our expertise and reputation with composites that the big wind industry came to us in the early 90s, where we grew to a team of a few hundred employees that were servicing wind farms all around the world. And we teamed up with the Department of Energy to develop a new class of turbine blade, which is the very best performing turbine blade ever built. Now, we've selected a few of our key players from our history. Pete Traphagen, who's our lead engineer and a machine control expert. We got Ken Hamlet, who's a former Fortune 500 CEO, and our CFO, Tom Park. He was the president of Kenmore Craftsman Diehard for Sears. He was the controller at Walt Disney, amongst others. Next. Now, we have a very solid business model. We're profitable at the end of our first year of manufacturing. And as we continue to fulfill market demand, we grow at a very respectable rate. Next. Now, we are looking to raise $2 to $4 million. That first $2 million, that helps us grow our sales and marketing, build out our facility for manufacturing, and finish development on some additional features in addition to the core technology. The second $2 million, well, that would basically accelerate that process and allow us to increase our IP portfolio, of which I haven't mentioned yet, but we have a fully issued utility patent on the entirety of our portable wind turbine. And we would also get started on developing some of our new products for market. Next. Now, these are the 3 prototypes that we built so far, leading up to our Charlie model, which is the pre-production unit that we are going to be duplicating in production. Next. So this is a very exciting time that we're in. We have modern technology that is allowing us to achieve energy independence at the personal level. And we have a technology that has very strong competitive advantages for many market applications. So we are looking for partners to help us execute our mission, and I'd love to talk to you at the end of this presentation. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Jonathan, and thank you to all of our SCEIN company presenters today for sharing your exciting energy technology breakthroughs. I have just a few brief closing comments. First, I hope that you all got an appreciation for the breadth of new technologies that our SCEIN companies are bringing to market to help residential, commercial, and industrial electric ratepayers reduce their energy usage, reduce utility costs, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, improve grid resiliency, and to create our next wave of economic development and job growth. Today's presenting companies offer products and services spanning all 5 of our priority electric energy technologies that address energy efficiency, renewables generation, transportation electrification, and building decarbonization, 100% in alignment with the state's policy and incentives. I'd like to thank our friends and partners, Scott Anders and Joe Cates at the University of San Diego's Energy Policy Initiative Center, for their support with this regulatory summary and some of the background reference materials. So in closing out today's session, I thought it'd be informative to show you the impact that our SCEIN incubator has had so far by sharing our key metric slides as of our 4th anniversary, which took place in mid-July. Clearly, our biggest individual member company highlight to date had been eMotorworks being acquired by NLX and continuing to expand smart EV charging capacity around the globe. But literally hot off the press, I'm delighted to report that just this morning, Nuvve announced that they've signed a merger agreement with Newborn Acquisition Company, a special purpose acquisition company to take Nuvve public. So now you know why double CEC Visionary Award winner Nuvve did not present in last week's Last Stage Showcase. So between eMotorworks and Nuvve, San Diego is truly making a global impact in transportation electrification, first introducing smart charging, and now Nuvve's V2G vehicle to grid. In terms of employment, our 34 companies that we had in mid-July employed 268 people, which was actually an increase of 8% even during this year's challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. And in terms of diversity, 24% of our companies have women in the C-suite, 33% minorities in the C-suite, and 12% have veterans. In this pie chart, the lower left aqua hemisphere shows that our SCEIN companies had raised a combined $76.9 million in capital prior to becoming members and have since raised an additional $74.5 million in follow-on capital, essentially doubling their capital raised. With total expenditures of just $3.4 million by all 9 SCEIN partner organizations through our first 4 years of operations, that represents a greater than 20x ROI. And as you heard today, 5 of our mid-stage companies are currently actively raising another $23 million to support the scaling of their businesses. And of course, they're always looking for more customers. So please follow up with them in the breakout rooms if you can refer any potential customers or investors. And if you like what you saw and heard today, there's plenty more of this activity going on across the state that you can tap into. To gain access to the statewide California energy startup ecosystem, then the platform to join is the CEC's Empower Innovation Network. There are already 1,700 members from over 500 organizations signed up. They provide a statewide events calendar, where I assume some of you found out about this event. There's a funding opportunities tab that currently lists over $2 billion in open grants and RFPs. And there's also a Find a Partner tab to collaborate in pursuing these grants. So you can sign up at empowerinnovation.net. Our next showcase event taking place next Thursday, November 19th at 9 o'clock. We're going to have presenting companies including Benchmark Labs, Helicoid, Icarus RT, Neocharge, Paranetics. So once again, I can guarantee another fascinating look into the future of energy. So now we ask that you too do please visit with our presenters in their breakout rooms. If you have any follow-up questions about the SCEIN for either Zach or me, you're welcome to stay right here at the main stage or contact us using the email addresses that we've provided. So thanks so much for joining us today. I hope to see many of you back with us for the early stage final showcase event next Thursday. And if you just go to your bottom tool